Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mano and Mano, an early bird special today on the last day of January 2026. And of course, I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, my co-host. Eli, staying warm?
Yes, I'm staying ward, and good morning to everybody. Yes, this is a very early morning special here. I think this might be the earliest show we've done in the history of the show, but it's all right though, and it's all good. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're hoping to get warmer weather this week, but who knows? But let's kick it all off with the monologue, sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And Jim, it's all yours.
Okay. And listen, obviously there is a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to get into the NBA, the NFL and so forth. But from a monologue perspective, I just wanted to bring up that from a PGA Tour perspective, right? We're starting the new season and so forth, but again, this thing comes back up with now Brooks Koepka leaves Live, and now Patrick Reed. So they're basically whatever they did and went to Live. That seems to all have been forgotten, and that bothers me a lot because when these guys went to Live and they left the PGA Tour behind, I was disappointed in everyone that made the decision. Yeah, okay, you could say because they had the money and the opportunities. Well, that's fine. I just wish the PGA took more of a stand about welcoming these guys back. In the locker room kind of thing. Patrick Reed wasn't always liked anyway on the PGA Tour, but he's coming back with Koepka, and there'll be more, right? And it just, like I said, it kind of bothers me because the PGA Tour was there, and these guys made a conscious decision to go to Live Golf, and now they're coming back realizing that that's not all that it's cracked up to be, and the PGA Tour is where it's at. So, excuse me, I'd love you guys' thoughts on this. But one other thing, as far as golf goes, and I was talking about this with somebody. Does anybody watch that TGL stuff? I don't even understand how people could watch that. It makes no sense to me. It's just a
You
bunch
see,
of guys just hitting into virtual screens and making
you see,
wisecracks. People watch that? Do people watch that?
If people
Eli?
watch regular golf, then I would say that people do watch regular TGL golf. And I think that it's becoming more popular because these days now, especially for the younger generation, what do people want to do? They love to play golf. These days, the younger generation, but they want to go to either the mini golf courses or these new simulator places, similar to what TGL is offering, because they have the restaurant, they have the bar, the food, they have the pool tables and all this stuff. It's great for kids. So I guess if you're into sports, got not much else better to watch, then yes, I would say that people are watching it. And again, it is a popular thing, going to these simulator golf courses for the younger generation these days.
I know, but I'm a golfer and I can't watch that. I would prefer obviously
I
on a
know.
golf course. My best days are behind me unless Live offers me a big $1 million deal to go play. I wouldn't do it, as I told you before. But anyway, it was just an observation because it's just something that's almost unwatchable. I love
Oh,
golf,
100%.
and
But
I love people.
I mean, I can't get into golf period right now. I mean, unless
I
they
know.
pay me, unless I'm doing the game or doing something for it, but I just can't sit there and just watch a game. I don't know, that's just me. Uh
Okay.
yeah, for those watching, feel free to comment or leave us or call into the show. Scan the QR code or click on the link in the chat to call in and to give your thoughts. Whatever you like, we'll love to
And
have
I
your
know
opinion.
one of our loyal listeners, Jeremy, is up with us this morning. So good morning, Jeremy. And him and I always joke about the traffic in the New York City area. He lives
Oh,
up
it's been
in
horrible
California.
lately.
Yeah, so it's
If
been
you
a
want to go into
nightmare.
traffic, I can go into it. I mean, I don't think I've
Yep,
ever spent an hour on 280 this whole week. I think like 2 or 3 times this week I spent that hour of traffic.
yep,
It's been
I
crazy. It
agree.
really has been.
Welcome, Jeremy. Thanks for joining us so early. All right,
We have
Eli,
a
take
comment
us
from
to the world.
we want to have a comment here from Scarface 56. Jim, you look like you're playing Ulysses in the upcoming Christopher Nolan directed vehicle, The Odyssey.
I guess that's reference to my beard, I would assume.
All right.
Thank you for your comment. I
Appreciate it.
love it.
So let's go and talk some NFL football. And
Yep.
we have a lot of stuff to talk about. First, we have the Hall of Fame, which had some big controversy this week. We also have the big games, the Super Bowl that is coming up. The final two are matched and set up. The Seahawks and the Patriots, a rematch of 49. And we also have the most important thing of the football conversation today, that standings chart. And let's take a look at it right now because, Jim, you went 1-1 last week. I went 2-0 on our picks. Uh, I went 40-31 overall. You went 46-29. You're going to win the season regardless because there's only one game left, and that's the big Super Bowl. So congrats to you on the win, even though you went 1-1 this week, but it's okay. Congrats on a good season, though.
Thank you very much. And you gave me all I could handle, Eli, and that's all I could ask for. So I graciously accept the trophy on behalf of Sports with Mono and Mono, and I share it with you, my co-host.
Thank you. And this next year will be mine. I'll be sure to share it back.
Okay. Good luck.
All right. So before we get into talking about the actual games from last week, and before we get into all the coaching carousel changes and everything, let's talk about the Hall of Fame because that was the biggest story of the week. As Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. The question is
Mhm.
why? Do you think this is a mistake by the Hall of Fame? And what are your thoughts on it? Because I have some thoughts, but I'll let you start off because I know you're big on the Hall of Fame and getting in and all that. Tell us your thoughts first, Jim.
Okay. And obviously there's some sort of I don't understand why. And there's not one person who knows football that would dispute that this guy is a Hall of Famer. And I finished reading that book and I got a real good insight into Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And yes, they had Tom Brady, no question about it. That was key. But he also made so many personnel decisions that were difficult. And but look at his resume. He has two as defensive coordinator for the Giants, 6 Super Bowls with New England. So, you know, excuse me, maybe we just have to look at who's voting. Oh, is there a guy, who writes for the St. Louis Dispatch? Does he have qualifications to keep somebody like that out of the Hall of Fame? It's absolutely ludicrous. I don't think anybody that I've talked to, whether they like Bill Belichick or don't like Bill Belichick, would dispute that he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, football coach of all time. And his record speaks for itself. So
And
one of the decisions I heard from one of the guys why he didn't vote for him, because there were other guys on the ballot in their last years of eligibility, like Roger Craig or Ken Anderson, former quarterback for Cincinnati. If these guys haven't gotten into the Hall of Fame
it
now,
means something.
that's no excuse to keep Bill Belichick out of the Hall of Fame. And I think it's just pretty clear cut that there's some sort of a bias against the guy. Um, maybe it's because of how he's been handling himself as of late with the girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? The guy's a Hall of Famer. There's no question about it. And Eli, what are your thoughts on this?
All I know is that just ruined the National Football League's Hall of Fame. I can just assure you that one right there. Because now I could tell you right now, getting into the Hall of Fame means nothing. What is it now that you're a Hall of Famer? Just a title? I'm a Hall of Famer. I got a gold jacket now. Now it means nothing that Bill Belichick is not in. And I hate to say it, but it's true. Because the bottom line is he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And the fact he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer is absolutely insane to me. And people were
It's
asking me
silly.
yesterday, and days before, what up, Eli Manning? Shouldn't Eli Manning get in? Well, guess what? I'm happy that Eli Manning is not in right now because if Bill Belichick didn't get in, Eli Manning should have not gotten into the Hall of Fame just yet. And if that would have been the case, I think I would have been really more angrier than I am currently. And at this point, like I said, the Hall of Fame means nothing. Bill Belichick is going to get in next year. Now with all the controversy, the Pro Football Hall of Fame actually making a statement about it. But when he goes in, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, we're gonna just forget about it," but it's not gonna be forgotten. This is one of those stories where it's gonna be in the back of our heads forever, and we cannot let go of it. And it's sad,
Yep.
and it just pretty much ruined what it means to be a Hall of Famer. And it's sad to say.
And I'm glad that you brought that up because listen, I mean, being a Giant fan, and I've even spoken about this last year when Eli didn't get in on the first ballot. I mean, look at his record and so forth. And yes, the 2 Super Bowls are definitely, worthy of consideration. But I brought up Ken Anderson before. He used to be the
Yep,
quarterback for the Bengals. Kenny Anderson was an excellent football player. And
absolutely.
Kenny Anderson hasn't even these years. Kenny Anderson's been retired for probably 40 years. So, is he is Eli Manning better than Ken Anderson as overall as a quarterback? I don't think so. But the 2 Super Bowls that he did win, maybe that warrants a little different consideration, but I still have no problem with him not getting in right now. He has a 500 career record. When he was
But you
when he
bring that
was
up, so
excellent for those 2 Super Bowl runs, he was great. But when he wasn't so good, he was terrible. So, these are and we looked at Roger Craig. I watched Roger Craig play for 4 years. Roger Craig was one of the great football players in the league. But that 4 years doesn't justify Hall of Fame. So Eli, you brought it up before. It's a little bit tarnished now by they need to get people in, otherwise there's no Hall of Fame ceremony. But we're letting people in that don't belong with the upper echelon people of the Hall of Fame.
that brings up my next question before I get to more comments. What is the criteria? What should it be to be a Hall of Famer at this point? Because clearly, having this many Super Bowl wins and appearances and 333 wins means absolutely nothing now. I'm just saying Bill Belichick, for example. So, what should
Understood?
be the criteria now, if we think about it? If we're not saying that Eli Manning should be in right away, hasn't been
Yeah.
in a while, and he has 2 Super Bowl wins, what's the criteria? Not winning a Super Bowl, but having a great record in the regular season and like certain categories. Like, what is the criteria and how should it be? That's my next question. Then,
All valid. All valid questions. I mean, you look at Eli Manning and the Manning family. I mean, his father Archie he played for some terrible teams. He took maybe the worst beating I've ever seen a quarterback take over a
absolutely.
period of years, and he's not even under consideration. So you know what? Uh, it's a little bit tarnished for me. The name alone doesn't get you in. His brother, sure, that was first ballot Hall of Famer, but
Absolutely. I agree with that one.
yeah, crazy.
Eli will
Anyway,
eventually get in, but
he
right
will.
now, not yet.
Of course, everybody eventually gets in. I mean,
But it's going to mean nothing though. In terms of Bill Belichick, next year when he gets in, nothing because in everybody's eyes, he's already a Hall of Famer, and that's just the bottom line. So when he gets in, it's just saying, "Oh well, we did our job. I hope everybody's happy. Here's your gold jacket." Like that's how it's going to be, unfortunately.
but you know what, Eli? We'll wrap this up with just saying maybe we need to evaluate who this Hall of Fame committee is. Is it a
Yes,
sports writer from the St. Louis Dispatch, or should it be former players and general managers that
I agree.
actually played in this league or managed in this league instead of some writer, for the Des Moines Register? Like, does he know any more about the National Football League than you and I? No, he
No,
doesn't. Anyway,
and also, I think there's also needs to be a criteria. I think that's another big thing too. There needs to be a proper committee, and there needs to be some type of criteria. That's just the
yeah,
bottom line. I want to get to a couple
agreed.
comments. I would like to know your name for this person, Scarface 56. If you could just let us know your name, because to help us out. Dion's kid's a Pro Bowler, yes, and we'll get to that in a second. Didn't vote because of LC Greenwood, Kraft, ET, etc., etc. Yeah, and good point from Jim. I'm a Giant fan. Eli should not be in.
Yeah. And listen, I appreciate those comments um, very much. And, his first comment was the Pro Bowl. Well, as you know, the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not what it used to be. That's changed over the course of time. Nobody's interested. And is Shador Sanders? Somebody had told me, I had a conversation about why they invited him to be in these Pro Bowl, whatever they call it.
That's another thing I'm going to get into. What does it
Right.
mean to be in the Pro Bowl? Oh, congratulations! I'm a 7-time Pro Bowler.
But you know
It's like,
why, Eli?
well, can you explain that one to me? Because I'm just not. I'm confused right now because it's pretty much dodgeball games that I don't get.
And I
I hate to
think
be
it was
ranting on the
I
NFL,
think
but it's true.
and I think it was Jeremy that brought it up, saying one of the reasons, and again, what do we always talk about the NFL? It's all about money. So
Absolutely is.
Shador Sanders' jersey is one of the best-selling jerseys in the National Football League. So by putting him into the Pro Bowl, that only gives more exposure,
Generates money.
more
Yes.
money, more money for the league. It doesn't mean
But
anything. Nobody wants to see NFL players play flag football. It's like watching Scotty Scheffler hit into a virtual screen. Nobody's interested in it. Bottom line.
but
So
but that's my point though. What does it mean? This is like an ethics class. I feel like we're asking all these questions and stuff. What does it
yeah,
mean to be a Pro Bowler? Because that's just the bottom line. Because there barely a million people watch the Pro Bowl nowadays. So what are we watching from the Pro Bowl? What are we getting out of
yeah.
it? Besides the name, I'm a 7-time Pro Bowl. Again, what is the meaning? I'm just trying to figure that. There's a lot of questions I have for the NFL if you think about it. I mean,
But they
that's just,
keep making money in spite of themselves. So
I know,
what,
and they
what
will
can we
always.
do? Right?
So let's go ahead and talk about the games itself, and then we're going to go talk about the coaches in a
Yep.
second. So
Yep.
let's start off with the AFC matchup. 10-7 was the final. The Patriots beat the Broncos there. 48 million people watched on CBS. And believe it or not, I want to bring up to Brendan's comment because he said it was the most watched games and stuff. Believe it or not, CBS Thanksgiving game had a bigger audience than the actual conference championship. The Thanksgiving game had 57 million people watching. So it's pretty big for them, 48 million, but not record high for the season. It's pretty
Well,
crazy.
maybe there was power outages due to the weather and so forth.
That's true too.
Maybe.
That's true too. But the bottom line though is I don't trust this Patriots team. And I've said this right from the beginning. This Patriots team, I knew coming into the playoffs that they weren't going to be strong. And not just because I'm a Seattle fan. It's just being honest. Because 10-7's the final. There was no excuse for the first half. In the first half performance when you had the weather conditions perfect. If you couldn't do nothing in the first half, how do you expect to do something in the second half when it started snowing like crazy, like a winter wonderland?
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to point out. They couldn't do nothing. If 10-7's the final, what happens next week in the Super Bowl versus a team like Seattle, whose defense has been amazing all season, and you have guys like Kenneth Walker, Sam Darnold, and JSN with the football? What happens?
Well, you know what? These are excellent points, Eli, because when you look at the first half of the Denver New England game, and yeah, I kind of wish the weather didn't take such a drastic turn because it did change, the whole second half. The game was obviously won in the first half. The conditions were just deplorable. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Super Bowl when we're on the show next week. But right now, if you look at it, you're absolutely spot on that New England didn't dominate, and I don't know whether or not they can match up. When you look at the Seattle Rams game, right?
Great game, by the way.
Seattle absolutely dominated, and you could hang on Sean McVay because the defense, they didn't cover Jackson Smith and Ngigba, right? They didn't cover him.
He was the main guy that kept scoring all the touchdowns. How did you not know? I mean, I'm okay with it because I'm a Seattle fan, but how do you not know to stop him? Kenneth Walker, same thing. The amount of trick plays and everything. My gosh.
Yeah, no, your Seattle team looked really, really good, and it's hard for me to say right now. I'm going to give it some thought, and we'll
me
make
too. We're picking our mix next week, right?
We'll make our picks next week, but maybe this is Sam Darnold's magical year. I mean, he's put up good numbers the past couple of years, and I don't want to hear. Now you're going to hear during this week that Sam Darnold took Seattle to the Super Bowl and the Jets had him. Well, he was terrible when he was on the Jets. The Jets is a shitty, terrible organization. But he really looks like he knows what's going on right now. And their offense, right, Charbonnet gets hurt, but Kenneth Walker steps right in. And, I think everyone would have liked the matchup, would have liked to see Matthew Stafford because his career is winding down to get in. But
I agree with how people did, but no. I mean, look at this turnaround for Sam Darnold. Look at it. He was a New York Jet. His career was pretty much over the moment he stepped onto that New Jersey field. He
Yeah.
goes to a couple different teams. He ends up in Seattle, and now he's taking them to the Super Bowl. Now, you could argue as the coach, you could argue that it's JSN that's been the big help, even Walker and even Charbonnet, who's unfortunately injured and won't be able to play. But
Yeah.
they are all contributing factors. It's crazy.
I
The
just really
turnaround.
think your Seattle team looked like a better team than the Rams,
And I think they'll be a better team in the
and
Super
they deserve to be in the Super Bowl. I'm not
100%.
excited.
Again, it's still too early. You're right. But I want to bring up the one point. As long as if they don't throw at the 1 yard line, then I think we'll have a good shot at winning the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks. Because we know what happens Super Bowl 49 in the same exact matchup.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. But they don't. But then again, they don't have a Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, so let's
That's true too.
take that off the table.
Take that off the table. Well, we do have a
All right.
couple of coaching stuff to talk about before we move off of the
Yes.
NFL.
Yeah.
First off, let's start in Tennessee, where it's a New York, New Jersey reunion. As of course, as we know, last week Robert Saleh was the head coach, and now we learned that Brian Dable will be the new offensive coordinator. So it's a New York reunion. I mean, that's pretty cool to see. But is it cool? Will they actually help this Tennessee Titans team out? What do you think about that?
Well, I think absolutely that picking Robert Saleh to be the head coach of your team is a big mistake for Tennessee. He proved to me he's not a head coach. Yeah, he could be considered a really good defensive coordinator with what he's done in San Francisco, but as a head coach, and now he brings in Brian Dable. So Brian Dable, can he work with this Cam Ward? I think it was an opportunity for Tennessee and their fans to regroup and just forget what's happened in the past few years. But I think they made a mistake by bringing in Robert Saleh, who doesn't seem very connected to me. And certainly when he was a coach of the Jets, I think his record is like 20-39, something terrible.
But
So that was a big surprise to me.
I think here's what I think about this whole Robert Saleh thing. Now I give it some more thought and stuff. Looking at Sam Darnold and look at his turnaround. Now he's in the Super Bowl and stuff. You can never doubt anybody these days because you never know. Maybe being a New York Jet really did not motivate you as a player and a coach. And maybe he might have the best turnaround of his career because remember, he is a defensive mind. He did a great job in San Francisco. He took this team to the division around. Unfortunately, they lost to Seattle, but you never know. There might be some hope for Robert Saleh, and I'm going to give him a shot because, again, maybe being in New York is like the worst possible thing in the world. So,
Mm.
like I said, give him a chance next year. And if he
Okay.
doesn't prove us right, then you could say, yes, he does not deserve to be the head coach. But I give him a shot because you never know. Look at Sam Darnold's turnaround. Anything's possible.
Yeah. I'm going to say that's not going to work out in Tennessee.
That's
But
true.
anyway, couple
Couple
other
of,
big moves.
go ahead.
Mike McCarthy takes
Yeah.
over the Steelers. And you know what? That's not a surprise to me because,
No,
actually one of my college classmates grew up with Mike McCarthy in the Pittsburgh area, so it makes sense. And that he comes in, takes over the Steelers. Think that's the right move for him.
absolutely. I
Mike
agree.
McCarthy knows what he's doing, and the Steelers don't, they don't rotate coaches, so he's going to be there for a while.
I agree. Uh,
Um,
two other
how
ones.
about this one though? Kind of surprised. We talked about Brian Dable before. I thought he was going to get the Buffalo job. I think I even said
Yeah.
that on last
Yeah.
week's show. But
Joe
they
Brady gets
instead,
it.
Joe Brady gets it. So Josh Allen had to have something to
Oh, he
do with it,
absolutely. Absolutely. He was
yeah,
on the McAfee show the other day when Joe Brady was on.
right,
He had an absolute take and stake in that. But personally, I don't like the move because to me, the offense for the Buffalo Bills has been the best, especially in the postseason. You can argue the regular season was great, and yes, you can argue it's been Josh Allen. Yes, you can argue it's a defense stuff. I don't think that he's ready to head coach this Buffalo Bills team, which is off on it has a big legacy behind it. Except they just can't go over the Super Bowl hump. That's the thing.
yeah. And I just think from a Bills perspective that this is they let a coach go that had an outstanding record, and he doesn't perform on the field, but he's got them there. I think Sean McDermott getting fired was it's going to be a big setback, and I think this is going to take the Bills back a step. That's a big that's a big move to let him go and bring uh, Brady in as the head coach.
There's a couple
Um,
other notes.
yep.
The Vikings have fired GM Kwesi Adolfo Mensah, who's the GM. He's been fired. And the last note, before I talk about another thing from the Seattle Seahawks, the Browns have sorry, not fired, hired former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Munkin.
Yeah.
So he's been hired there. Back to Seattle point real quick. Uh, the Seattle Seahawks are up for sale after this year's Super Bowl. That's pretty crazy to think about. The Jody
Wow.
Allen days are officially coming to an end. The team is estimated to be worth $7 billion, and they'll be going up
Mhm.
for sale after the Super Bowl. So, all eyes on who picks up the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe it's Mark Cuban. Who knows?
Right. You know, Eli, I wanted to bring one other thing back on the coaching carousel. First of all, we kind of thought Monken was going to go to the Giants and work for Harbaugh and Jackson Dart and so forth, but he ended the Cleveland job. Good luck with that. But I think one of the things that was really confusing to me, and I've told you guys I like Sean Payton. I think he's an outstanding football coach. But he fires Joe Lombardi, his offensive coordinator, after the year they had, number one seed, and somebody had to take the fall. And that was a big, big surprise to me that
I agree.
Lombardi gets fired as the offensive coordinator when they had an outstanding offense the whole year. So there's way more to these decisions that we're seeing than just, performance and record, because Joe Lombardi as an offensive coordinator was outstanding. But
I agree.
Sean Payton felt it necessary excuse me, to have somebody take the fall instead of himself. That was a big surprise to me.
Absolutely. Well, we talked a lot about the NFL, and where do you want to
Yeah.
go next, Jim?
All right. Well, listen, we're seeing something that's really unbelievable. And I'm a big tennis fan, right? And the Australian Open has been going on. Actually, the women's was settled this morning.
Yep.
Sabalenka loses to Rybakina in a very close match on the women's side. So, you know, there's really not a lot of competition on the women's side. They trying to baptize Coco Gauff as the next great player. She's not a great player. These two are really the cream of the crop on the women's side. But Eli, how about we talk time and time again? We write this guy off. Novak Djokovic reaches the Australian Open final. I thought there was no chance that he could get there and beat Sinner and Zverev and all of those guys, because there's a lot of competition on the men's side. And this guy, he's a
Absolutely.
robot. He just keeps coming up. Can he beat the number one player in the world, this Carlos Alcaraz? I can't write it off. It doesn't sound like he could.
Yeah.
Um, but he just keeps coming time and time again. And now he's in the finals of the Australian Open. One of the great stories in sports. I love it. Love it.
That is awesome. Wow. Uh, I believe this is Jeremy, but I could be wrong. Sabalenka out too much grunting, and he also says Cooper Flag is legit. The other Duke kid, Con Hornets, the other kid Con
Yeah,
from the
Con
Hornets,
Kneppel. Yep, I
yep,
know.
is
Yep.
also a possible rookie of the year.
Well, that's a good point, because I wanted to bring up the Cooper Flag thing. He sets the record for most points scored by a teenager. Keep in mind, he's 19 years old, this kid, and he's going to be one of the great players for the next 15 years in the NBA. I love it. I love it.
It's awesome. Um, let's touch base on the NHL real quick. I want to just bring up some notes real quick, if you don't mind, before we go to
Go
some
ahead.
other points. The Lightning Bruins Stadium Series is in Tampa tomorrow on Sunday on ESPN. So take a look at that. The whole setup is really cool, and they still have a tent over the ice rink because of how hot it is in Florida, even though it's cold. That's going to be dismantled sometime tonight. The tent, and it'll be regular ready to go for hockey. So that's pretty cool down in Tampa Bay. I'm in a
Mhm.
big trade this week for the New Jersey Devils as they trade Palat and 2 draft picks to the Islanders for Maxim. They're going to butcher this name. Tice Plakov. Plakov. Yeah. That sounds good.
Sounds like a Scrabble name. Yeah, just
Yeah,
throw the
pretty
dice.
much.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's in first place in the Eastern Conference. Colorado in first. The Devils, the Rangers, and the Islanders they're not so good right now. But
Oh, the
that'll be
Rangers
fun.
are an absolute mess. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really sad to see where they were just 2 years ago. They were on
Oh
the
yeah.
cusp of having won the President's Trophy, and now it's completely blown up. They're going to trade Panarin, probably trade Zabana. I hate seeing it.
Oh yes. A quick comment there. Tampa Bay looks awesome. John Cooper has the squad doing good.
John Cooper's a great coach. There's no getting around it. So I'm not surprised anything that John Cooper does. One of the best coaches in hockey for past 20 years.
A long time. Absolutely. Now
Yep.
that's a Hall of Famer. But again, that's a different criteria. We go back to that
You
later
bet.
on.
Yep.
Let's go on to some random points. That's gonna be sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. I'll kick it off. Let's start off with this. Rick Pitino, 900 career wins with St. John's that happened this week. So congrats to him on a big milestone there. Jose Ramirez and the Guardians agreed to a 7-year extension worth $175 million. That's pretty big money right there.
Yeah.
Ohio State announces the hiring of offensive coordinator Arthur Smith from the Steelers. The Walt Disney Company announced that their next CEO will be revealed this week. This comes as Bob Iger will officially be done with his contract after coming back to run the company. High predictions are leading to Josh D'Amaro, the chairman of Disney Experiences, to be the next CEO. Iger is set to leave before the end of December of this year. So stay tuned for that announcement. That's, of course, big because the Disney Company affects everything we watch on ESPN and everything else. You know, we have to keep that factor in mind.
Oh, they are a player in everything that goes on in sports
100%.
nowadays. So, yeah.
100%. How about this take right here? The kid show Bluey overtakes Stranger Things 5 for the most watched show of 2025. For those who don't know, Stranger Things is that incredible Netflix show that even became a movie. People have been dying and going crazy for it. But this Bluey show is a BBC show from the Australia area that came into the United States, picked up by Disney into their markets and stuff. But it's all produced by BBC. It's BBC owned, not Disney. And they overtook Stranger Things as one of the most watched shows of 2025. That's pretty crazy.
I got to tell you, I've never seen Stranger Things. I don't know anything about it. I don't know Bluey because I don't have kids that are that young, but I know it's very popular. So
I watched Bluey before, just to give it a shot. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty funny. Good for the kids, let me tell you.
Well, I'll tell you, I'd rather watch Bluey than TGL Golf.
I knew he was going to say that. I was going to say that and the WNBA. He was going to say, I knew it. But yeah, Stranger Things I've never seen. I heard it's very popular, but I know the cast and everything. Seen the cast, seen a lot of the interviews that they had on Good Morning America and all these shows, but haven't sat there and watched Stranger Things.
It's college basketball season. I'm going to start getting into college basketball.
Me too. I'll be at the Seton Hall game in a little bit, rather. So
tell us a little bit about that.
So I'll be working with media relations today for Seton Hall basketball. They take on Marquette today at 12 o'clock at the Rock. It's gonna be a great game. Looking forward to being there, and and I'm excited to be at the Rock. It'll be my first time in a long time.
Are you calling the game or working behind the scenes?
I'm working behind the scenes, like with media relations. So pretty much giving out the stats, the broadcast, things like that. We'll find out my role later. But yeah. Two other notes though before I move off though. Did you see the Super Bowl ad by Pepsi this week with the polar bear? That it was not our AI. I mean, that was pretty cool. It was a Pepsi Super Bowl ad, features the polar bear, which is of course the iconic Coke mascot, and he chose the Pepsi instead of the Coke. And it was a funny commercial. It's been already previewed out for the Super Bowl ahead next week. And lastly, SNL 1000 is all new this week with Alexander Skarsgård as your host and Cardi B as your musical guest. By the way, SNL, this is the 1000th episode for the show. That's a pretty big milestone.
I got to ask you about this because I used to think that the season started in September and by January we're in repeats. Why are we having new shows now?
Something changed? December, remember, every year, all shows, they take a break for the Christmas time. So like right after like the 20th, whatever the date is, whatever the last Saturday is by the 20th, then all shows
Mhm.
take a 4 to 5 week break because of New Year's, the holidays, all that. They legally have to take a break. SNL is going on another break after this show because the Olympics. Since the Olympics are on, they're going to be off for the entire month because, of course, Olympics have priority on NBC. So that's why. And
Gotcha.
then, yeah, they have a lot of time off because of network priorities. SNL is not a network priority, and it's
Okay.
also expensive to do a show,
Okay.
believe it or
Cool.
not. Yeah. So you, Jim.
All right. I got a few random points. So again, I'm gearing up for the coming up of golf season, and I love it. But Scotty Scheffler already. I mean, he's starting off this season like he's going to be something to be reckoned with. He's the third person, only the third person, to have 4 majors and 20 career
Woo.
wins before the age of 30. And
Wow.
you can guess who the other two are. It's pretty simple to me. Jack Nicklaus and Eldrick Tiger Woods. So that's pretty good company. This
Yeah.
guy is the best golfer in the world, and he's just going to make the sport more and more popular. I love watching this guy play.
Wow.
Patrick Kane, Eli, been bounced around the past couple of years, but just passed Mike Modano as the all-time points leader for U.S.-born hockey players in the National Hockey League. So congratulations to him.
Mhm.
That's quite a milestone. And we talked about Cooper Flag before, but from an NBA perspective, I think we're starting to gear up, right? Because LeBron James, yeah, they did some sort of a tribute to him in Cleveland. So I don't know if that means they're going to trade him to Cleveland to finish his career, because before this is all said and done, they're going to have to announce that this is a farewell tour, like they did with Derek Jeter and the
Of
Yankees, right?
course.
So, but I haven't heard anything about it. But the guy's almost 42 years old. I think he's 41 now. But um, you, this is going to be an end of the era for the NBA. The
I
guy's
know.
been the face of the NBA for the past, and
Uh,
yeah, time's
guarantee
winding
you he
down for
still will
him.
be. He still will be, and he'll guarantee he'll be on one of these studio shows, NBC, or he'll go to Prime Video. I don't think ESPN, but we'll see. But who knows?
He will
He,
be. You mark my words. He will be an owner, or at least majority owner of an NBA team
oh, I agree with that one.
before this is all said and
I
done.
agree. I mean, Tom
Yep.
Brady did it, so I'm not surprised if he does do it. Yeah.
And Eli, you brought up before, we haven't really touched on it, but it is coming up. The Winter Olympics are coming, and kind of a heartbreaking news for Lindsey Vonn yesterday, who been battling back and qualified for the Olympics, but she had a crash yesterday. I don't know the extent
Ooh.
or the severity of her injury, but at 41, it's not really easy to recover. So that may have dashed her hopes of, because that was probably maybe one of the biggest stories to be watched during the Winter Olympics. And as you pointed out, though, hockey is going to be outstanding. I still love that, and it's a good time to watch Miracle about the
Of
'80
course,
Olympic
yes,
team.
an iconic movie. Yes, of course.
Yep, one of the great movies. It's perfect time to watch it while it's nice and cold outside. But yeah, the Olympics are coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer to the opening ceremonies. That's it for me in
Absolutely.
random points, Eli.
All righty. Let's go ahead now to the entertainment. And I'm sorry, what's your recommendation in the photo segment? That's me sponsored by Vital Selections. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yep. Well, I got one because I actually mentioned it, but I told you I hadn't watched it yet. Was the Mel Brooks special on
Of course,
I think
yep.
it's HBO, whatever it is, but called The 99-Year-Old Man. And we're movie guys. I know Jeremy's sitting there. He appreciates what Mel Brooks brought to the screen in Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and many other things. Just a great special. So if you have an opportunity, and Eli, I know this is a little bit out of your era, but you hear a lot about movies and influential people in Hollywood, and Mel Brooks is certainly one of them. Highly
Absolutely.
recommend watching. It's a 2-part special. Great.
Be sure to tune into that. And some recommendations I have. There's a lot of stuff on TV this week. Tomorrow is the Grammys, the 68th annual Grammys. That's I would watch that. It's pretty good to see who's going to be Artist of the Year.
Mhm.
We'll see how that goes. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock on CBS. Monday at 8 o'clock on CBS, the greatest Super Bowl commercials of all time, Hall of Fame Countdown Edition. That'll be on Monday on CBS. Wednesday on ABC at 9 o'clock. It's the Muppet Show Special Edition. This part, the Muppets are back for a special appearance and show. They'll be on ABC on Wednesday. Thursday's the NFL Honors on NBC at 9 o'clock. And this Friday kicks off the Olympics on NBC, Peacock USA, and its NBC Universal affiliates. So stay tuned for that.
I don't know
All right.
who's carrying the flag for the U.S. Do you know? Opening ceremonies.
I don't know. I know the heated
No.
rivalry crew is doing the torch stuff because
Okay.
I know that was the big thing in the news, but I didn't know who's carrying that, which is another popular show people are dying to. Heated rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
All right.
about that.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's some photos.
All right. I had an opportunity to go see my grandson play. That's my youngest grandson, Hudson. He was at the game, so he's got his Steph Curry jersey on for all you NBA
course.
fans. And that's me with my grandson Logan, who kid's a great basketball player. And he had a good
Here's
win
a
on,
clip.
on that game. It was nice, you know. And I think we have a little bit of a clip. So that's him at the foul line. He nails it. What can I tell you? He's a good
That is
athlete.
good. That's
Good
awesome.
athlete.
That is awesome.
Yep.
We do have some notable passings to report.
We do.
So the only one I have, and I think it was, of course, the one everybody knows about, Catherine O'Hara, best known in Home Alone, for saying Kevin when stuck at the airport.
Yep.
She passed away at the age of 71. Let me tell you, an icon, a legend. And you know her right away. If you've seen Home Alone and one of it, then one or two, you know her right away. And even other shows, she's widely popular. Rest in peace.
Yeah, no doubt. And she was also part of the SCTV comedy crew back in the early days with Gilda Radner and all of the old Saturday Night Live alumni that started there.
Their run.
But she was also, and I never really saw the show, a show called Schitt's Creek.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Yes.
Yeah, so she was in that. I never saw it, but
never did either.
I liked her as an actress. Surprised, only 71 years old. She was.
Yeah, we were talking
young.
about that earlier. That
Yeah.
Even though it sounds old, but it's young. I mean, she was young if you think about it.
Yep. Another one, and this is more for the New York area because I used to watch this guy on Saturday morning, Produce Pete. So Pete Napolitano, he used to do, you know, all the at the farmers markets, and he would give a breakdown of what kind of vegetables, what to look for. Very popular guy in the New York area. So he passed away.
I like that.
Yeah, he was like 30 years doing on Saturday Today in New York City. Great,
like that.
Fun guy, fun segment always. And one other from the world of sports, and this is Frank Ramos. And Frank Ramos was 87, and he was the former PR director for the New York Jets for many, many years. And
how do you like that?
Yeah, and that was a big loss from a Jets perspective. And remember, he was the guy who introduced Bill Belichick as the coach of the New York Jets. And when Belichick got up there, he resigned as coach of the New York Jets. It was kind of a crazy scene, but Frank Ramos was certainly a professional. And as a matter of fact, Roger Goodell started his career as an intern for Frank Ramos in the public relations.
Wow.
How about that? So long career for the
that?
Jets, 87 years old, and he passed away. And that's it from the notable passing perspective this time.
Well, we had a very great show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in for our early morning special. For those that are going to be watching this on repeat later on, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you all next Saturday back at our normal time slot at 10 o'clock. Again, it was of course another great show, and enjoy the segment that we had this week because that was a lot of fun. The
Yep.
football segment, and enjoy just relaxing. And college basketball is the big sport this weekend, and maybe hockey too,
Yep.
and maybe NBA basketball. The tennis is in the morning, late early morning. So if you're up, enjoy that too. And we'll be back talking about the Super Bowl even more and in depth next
Yeah.
week. So tune in for another episode of
Yeah, we
Sports
got a lot
Mano a
of
Mano.
stuff we covered, but I'm excited for you, Eli, that you're covering the game, and Seton Hall's had a really good run so far early in the season, and I wish you
Well,
the best.
sort of.
You're working behind the scenes,
Yeah.
so you're good at even in front of the camera, behind the counter. You do a good job. So
So I
good
appreciate it.
luck and go, go Pirates, I guess, right?
Go Pirates. Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And
Have a great day.
like I said, we'd love for you to always comment. You can send us an email at sportswithmano@gmail.com. But also, tell a friend, subscribe as we grow. Just very busy week in sports, and it'll be busy weeks. So stay warm out there because the weather's been brutal. And thanks for joining us, all your early birds. And we'll see you guys next.